Welcome to Boston Movement. On behalf of Al and Hattie Hollingsworth, we want to let you know that you're loved and appreciated. My name is George Hernandez, Minister of the Training Departments. And at this time, I'd like to take some time to share some trainer tips in starting your program so that you can actually start well and have great success. One of the first things you're going to be doing is registering your students. You're going to have your orientation. And your very first week, you'll have a pre-week one where you take the time to do the motivation portion of the class, and then you'll go ahead and go right into registering the students. And of course, you're going to make sure that the parents are there so that way you can get all the necessary paperwork filled. You'll find all your forms in the Standard Operating Procedure CD registration forms, so that way you can have everything that you need. Now, what's important here is that besides registration, there's a parent and student agreement form. Very important, because we're going to be asking for the students to agree to be on time to class, to bring their homework, to bring their manual, their student guide to class. There's certain things that we're going to require them to do to know and learn their pledges. But many times we're going to find that we're going to need the parental support. And by parents and students both signing the agreement form, they are agreeing to make sure that they take every necessary step as parents to equip their students. And you'll find many times some of your problems are going to be that the parents aren't getting their children to class on time, and we're going to hold our students accountable for not being on time. And then we'll find at times that we're getting some problems, maybe even from parents, and not getting the support that we need, and we need to call parents. So you're going to find that some of your potential bottlenecks in your success are going to be your ability to be able to communicate well with the parents, and by them signing the parent-student agreement form, you have something in your hands that you can hold the parents accountable to. Many of the bad habits that are being learned, that are being brought into your class from your students, sometimes are from what they have grown and seen and learned from the adults within their life and home. And so you're going to want to make sure that as we have a disciplined class, and discipline being defined as delaying one's gratification, we're going to hold each one of the students accountable, which brings us to the area of discipline. Now, if you remember in the training, there are three types of people: 87% being followers, 10% being destroyers, and 3% being leaders. Now, it's important that as trainers, you really understand what's before you, because you can literally evaluate in your first 1 or 2 weeks who your leaders are, who your followers are, who the potential destroyers are. And you want to make sure that you identify your different groups, so that way you can coordinate even how they sit in the class. Because if you have too many destroyers in the class, you'll have followers and destroyers and very little leaders. You're going to find that the majority of your followers will also become destroyers. So you want to be careful that if you have too many of one type, especially your destroyers, that can hurt your class. So if you have if you minimize that, you take a look at what you have, you want to then make sure that you don't have your destroyers, those 10%ers, sitting next to each other, because they'll take each other down and they'll take over the class. So you want to be careful with that as well. Now, there's a disciplinary process. And you want to make sure as you identify, as you begin to see who those potential problematic individuals are, you'll be able to then speak to them. And what you want to do is you don't want to get upset in class. And that's why, as a tag team between the head trainer and the assistant trainer, that you work well together, because you're going to both be teaching, and the one that is not teaching at the particular moment is going to hold those students accountable. You'll find that sometimes you'll have to tap the student on the shoulder, and if they are really out of hand, you'll have to pull them out of class and speak into their lives. What would be a great thing to do is, at the end of your class, as you've identified those students that need discipline, you'll pull them to the side and you'll speak into their lives, because those destroyers have so much potential of being the actual leaders in your class. And so you're going to want to take the time to sow into them and speak words of life. You want to love on them. You want to pull them to the side. And you want to say, you know what, Danny or Susan or whoever they are, call them by their name and speak to them. And you want to get their agreement to work with you. And you want to speak in their lives and say, you know, I noticed that you've been having some issues with being able to be focused in the class. I want to make sure that you understand that there's so much potential in your life that I see a true leader. And I really want to be a blessing to you. And what I would like to do is I'd like you to help me. Can you help me? And get their agreement so they can begin to agree with you. And then you can hold them accountable as you get back into class. You want to also explain to them that if they continue to have some issues in class and are disruptive, that you're going to have to call their parents. And make sure that they understand that you'll call their parents then after the following week if they don't cooperate. When you do call the parents, you're going to want to ask the parents, first of all, make sure that they understand to speak to their children or their child that's in the class about their behavior. If the behavior continues, then you'll let the parents know that you're going to have to ask one of the parents to come into the class. That may happen by week 4 and 5. Have the parents be supportive there. And then after that, hopefully, you know, the parents won't need to be there. Then you can evaluate the child or the student's behavior in class once again. And if it continues, then you'll have to ask the parents maybe to come back for 4 weeks to sit in the class. And there's a system in the standard operating procedure that outlines that process. And so you may want to be creative in how you're going to discipline your students, but make sure that you love on them so that way you can get the best from them. Amen? Now, with that, you're going to want to make sure that also that you labor the pledges. Pledges are very important because that's what's going to empower them on the inside. We're giving them words, and our thinking is shaped by word perceptions. You'll know that and learn that as you've been through Vertical Leap and you see the remaining of the training, that the pledges are going to empower them on the inside. And so what you're dealing with is that you're going to make sure that you review the pledges, and I want to just give you some tips on this because it's important that they learn it linearly from left to right. Week 1 and 2, they're learning Pledge 1. Week 3 and 4, they're learning Pledge 2. Week 5 and 6, they're learning Pledge 3, and on and on and on. So every 2 weeks, they're learning a new pledge. But once you get to about week 5 and 6, and they have 3 pledges in them, you want to start preparing them to learn it in Gestalt, because they're learning it Pledge 1, Pledge 2, Pledge 3. But as you move on in your class, as the weeks go by, and the more that they learn, you want to start testing them and having them stand in the class and let's say your pledges and give me Pledge 1, Pledge 2, Pledge 3. And now you want to go, give me Pledge 3, give me 1, give me 3, give me 2, give me 4, give me 1. And you want them to get it in their spirit so that way they can begin to now pull it out of them so that when they need it, because we know that when the enemy comes, he comes to steal, kill, and destroy. And it's important that they are equipped with the word inside of them, and that's the importance of the pledges, so that way they can withstand the threats of the enemy and how he will come through others that would speak in their lives as they share their vision. And so that way they can pull up the pledge as needed, knowing that it's in their spirit so they can move in their birthrights. So I wanted to share those tips so that way you can make sure that you have a class that will operate in discipline, so that you can have the best that you're going to need as a team between you, your trainer, parental support, and making sure that your students are accountable. If you have a class that's undisciplined, it is not a boss class. It is better that you stop your class and teach the discipline seating position, the understanding of what discipline is, and the 3 types of attending so that we can get focused attending and remind them, because you're dealing with the repetition process of developing discipline. So they may not be in order right away, but if you let them go, you won't have a good class. So you want to make sure that you take the time to drive in the discipline seating position, 3 types of attending, holding them accountable, understanding the dynamics of who you have in your class so you can work best with those 10%ers, 3%ers, as well as the 87% followers. So with that, I'm sure that at least you'll be aware of what to look for so you can be prepared to pursue and have a great class. Amen? God bless you.